Greetings, technology enthusiasts. I am Chandrahas and I am delighted to be here with you representing CyberBrainer. Do you not believe that the technology sector is advancing at an unprecedented rate, making this an opportune moment to acquire the skills that will facilitate your progress? With CyberBrainer, we are empowering you to take control of your own future. At CyberBrainer, we do not merely impart your interests. We assert that information is power, yet it is the application of knowledge that distinguishes you. Our courses are meant to equip you with essential skills, whether you are pursuing data science, understanding artificial intelligence, or delving into cybersecurity. Let us commence the session and seize the future today. Thank you.
Today we are going to see what is the importance of the time entry template. What are the different constitutes of a time entry template? That is one something that we are going to do today. Let's take our employee. The task to find the time entry template is view time entry template. But if in order to you want to have the idea of how many time entry templates and what are the features of that time entry template is there in the tenant, you just need to do all time entry. The moment you click on that, you will see the entire templates which are there for the worker. What is the default time entry? What is the pattern? And every detail. What is the total tag? Let's take our employee. This is the basic startup that we use in order to find the workers who are there in the tenant. How to identify them? How to get those items? I don't have. I using the time. And we are going to do. We are going to simply modify this. In real time, we need to create our custom right. This worker. Time entry template. The customization. In real time we do. You will have to go on to the and then you have to do everything on this part, not change anything. Alright. As this worker, for example. No, not. She is having this time and a template. I'm not kind of a visualization. We have gone to this all pairs in and out in pair out there in our meal break. And time for the copy of all the items which were necessary. Alright. Restriction required comments when we are changing any time entry. Alright. What are the necessary things in terms of entering time? We have done that. If we are modifying any time entry, this is the time which is there. We need to add a comment over here. You see a star mark over here. This is because we have added this time interest. If anyone is modifying, then it needs to comment. Again, if you are deleting also. Now when we are going to the next part, that is a calendar, what we see, a lot of things. I told you to mark everything quick. I did you time by week and my die, it's Excel. what it is. But let's go to the website. Alright, the first item. Autofill from schedule. Autofill from a private autofill from schedule will do one thing. It will actually. What is the work schedule that Logan McLean, is having work schedule for every day? From the work schedule calendar, we fetch the values for the works. In time is 9 by 30 and that's the value from there. I think what will happen right now, every hour would be out of it. Alright, these hours are from the work schedule and these are got fetched. Alright, now if you want to quickly add, quickly added. Like you select the time and what is the time bucket that you want to enter time. For example, I want to enter the time on 3. I click next. I just add the fata. Quickly I'll add the values like 4 hours 3 noon and need to mention any other words. Rather than having each day adding, I quickly add the values. Alright, you can see all the right. What we can do. Our next over here is weekend. If you don't want these values to be popped up, you can clear it. There are any changes and if you want to make all the changes over here, you can clear all the values from here. Alright. Now there's a new thing that we can do for where there's another thing that we can do, enter time by time. What this means time by time. What you can do, you can add, you can see this thing. You click on here, you cleared. You select the type you want to enter, which area you want to enter the type. For example, we have time intervals. Let's take example administration. You select 10 hours. Training, 3 hours. You can have multiple hours on the same day also. There's no issue on that. For example, I have added this. What will happen? Whatever hours are added on those particular days on the particular time increase. Alright, what will happen? It will automatically get fetched. This is time by time. I'm clearing it. Enter time by week. You can have for the entire week schedule and you can add your project time or if you want to change not project time. But each day you will get. But the UI is a little different. It is all the same code, but the UI is a little different. Review time. Review time by week. Similarly, like show you. He's really a worker and he's entering time. He's using his own time card. One second. The previous schedule for this is with the issue she is having. There's another, no good for following the change in the content area. The manager is reviewing his work and he can review his own time card. He selected all workers away. Alright. That is the immediate right of the time. But however, the managers do get a report which is known as time submitted and not submitted. And by that they can review all the workers who have submitted time, not submitted time. What is the hours they have submitted? Alright, that is taken care of as a manager. Alright, we get calculation, something the payroll also looks into this. What is that? Alright, new absence is new absent. As a particular date. What is the balance that they have? This can be seen over here. What are the balances is? It will show you the balances over here. This is a new piece of the balance. That's one of the reasons of this. This is basically the calendar option which we find over here. Alright. All options. Now let's go to the next part. Business process. Sometime by period. Time by period means it will look into the period schedule and submit the time as per the period you started and ended. It will include all the dates of the summit. My period means, for example, my period schedule is monthly, like 1 January to 31st of January. When I submit the card, it will submit the card for the entire month. Alright, if you click on this spot, independent of events for multiple jobs. In Workday, we have multiple job options Like a worker can be used as admin assistant as well as a manager also or a supervisor also. The individual events will be created for multiple jobs. Individuals when the employee will be submitting the time card. The time card for admin assistant manager would go for admin assistant, and for the other manager, it will go for the other manager. Alright, that is the feature that is there in independent events for job. You can do two jobs in Workday in the same company. For example, you are a supervisor and a team lead. You are entering time for two different buckets and you have two different managers to report like a dynamic team. Then this box needs to be checked. Submit. This is the standard thing that comes over here. You can submit the text whenever you are entering the time. This is something that is already there. This is the general thing that we use. High volume confirmation text. If you want to have a text like whenever you are submitting time for the mastery, mass it. For all of the workers, you are submitting the time entry. And if you want a confirmation on that, you can have a confirmation text over here. This is a confirmation text when you will get whenever the mass submit is completed. Mass submit is done automatically. All the task options come to the local mechanic. She'll have to do individually. But, however, if she doesn't want to do individually, she can do mass operation management, which is mass approval. After mass submit automatically, the time would get approved. That is known as mass approval. There is all tasks over in WordPress. Alright, this is a certifying text. This is something that we don't use. Allow mass for autofill from schedule. This is something that we use when we are doing mass submit. When we are having a bulk submission or bulk entry, mass autofills from the schedule. Whenever there is a schedule, then it is from work schedule. Now let's move to the daily totals. Daily totals, weekly totals. Where do you see this? You see this on the time card of any worker. Daily totals and week. Alright. For example, daily totals are displayed over here. 4 hours, 9 hours, 4 hours, 8 hours. Weekly totals are displayed over here. It depends on what name you give. For example, it is total project hours. I will say as test hours. You can have a number of 8 totals. 8 list can have. For example, I added hours like 9 total. First, you have to add the calculation tag. Which calculation tag is responsible for that? Alright, each time entry code. Now the important part comes into the picture, each time entry code. Like for example, project type, each time entry code has a default calculation tag. What it is? It is actually responsible for calling the hours for that specific time. And this calculation tag is mapped with your payroll absence in everywhere. This is the most important part. You can ask, You can tell interview that this is a transporter which transport hours from one area to another area. Example, it transport hours in your time and attempt. It transport hours in your absence calculation. It transport hours in your payroll learning, in your finance. Also, it transport the hours for the budgeting. You give a default calculation tag and you play with this default calculation tag. Alright. For example, this project time hours we have added over here in calculation type. How many hours does it carries for a week would get automatically reflected for the project hours. Alright, if I add over here regular, whichever time entry code has the entry code as regular. Let's see if any time entry code has a entry code as regular, for example this in and out. I added an entry code regular. Whatever hours you put over here, like for example I added hours, like maybe you will see how things are changing. I added temp. I added 12 hours. Now these 12 hours are stored in your regular bucket, correct regular car. Alright, I ended 12 hours. You will see those two allows who will get reflected over here. Did you see for the car 12 hours in and out? Regular hour. Now the 25 how it became regular hours. 12. Then we are was 9 where the values is getting stored. Regular in and out time. It has 21, 25 minutes to read this. If I remove, then we are from non-project hours from the project. Our only project time will be shown in the project hours. You will see the difference. Now how to see the difference? It will not automatically pop up. You go to that. Go to the run calculation give. I will see the magic. It's 25. It is here because no of the values are with project time. Rather enter another time of project and I entered around 10 hours and it has a regular code as project time project and is mapped with project hours on the label. You see over here 10 hours for example. For example, if you are working overtime, you get a time in you. For example, if you're working more than 10 hours on a day and you will get a family. Correct? We will create a time calculation for that. That would do a time calculation. Any hour which is passing 8 hours a day. Alright, those hours would be captured and those hours would be used in the time approval. Alright, that would be used as approval. What we do? We would map. Let's take any video plan, a few time of plan, whatever hours which are getting more than 8. That would be used in the time of plan as the accrual. Those hours would be used through. Alright, we'll go to the approval. Whenever I have employees entering time and going beyond 8 hours, it will not get time right away. Depends on the requirement to request. My requirement is like whenever a worker is entering time and going beyond 8 hours, those particular hours would be considered as a time. In you balance the general example, it is a general scenario. What I would do, I would add my right, and whenever employee is entering time and that time has been submitted, it will be stored in this accrual, and here the employee can see this in the bucket and they can utilize it. This is the general scenario. It does happen in every day-to-day work. Alright, this is total and shift. This we will cover when we are doing the time calculation. Yes, what is projection when we are? This is the only area where it comes. When we interact with time tracking with finance, when it involves finance module. When you enable this, you enable the project area with finance. This is the only way to enable finance interacting with time tracking. Enable time entry by project. That was the process was just a time entry code. But it doesn't had any project values like project task, which print you are working, what is going on. You do it by this and then you require project role for time entry. Display the phase and task. As I was stating, use high volume project from. This is a clear independent event. For example, you are working on 2 or 3 projects. Every event would be independent to each other, mutually exclusive. This is a project, customer or entry time. For example, if your customer you are sending the data to the customer, you can have this. The names are straight enough. Definitely, we don't have any projects, finance project. You won't be able to see it. But any financial clients. If they want to use time tracking for the finance, they need to enable this. That is mandatory and it says that whenever this part is checked, it will automatically apply project time automatically. Alright, that is new thing. This is a new thing, that is attestation. This is actually for the week, meal breaks, meal validation, and if you want to have a meal rules, for example, in California you have a 5-hour meal rules, 2 hours we do 1 hour meal rule. You can have a rule set for that. This is a new feature that has come up with, known as attestation. Alright, we are not going to cover this because has not been implemented yet properly. This is there in the test environment. We are actually facing a lot of customers are facing a lot of issues right now on this, and this is the new feature. But I'll give you the overview. Like, what is the basic rule for that? For example, mean length rule is 60 minutes. You will have, are you sure you want to check back early? And all those areas like this is. This is a new thing. I'll cover it later on this. What is attestation is? This is basically for the meal. How much break you can have. You can have a set of rules for your employees. The validation one, how many hours you can take, how many hours you can be awake, and that is the reason attestation has been entered. Local settings, localization settings means using Workday mobile, and if you want to, if you're entering times with respect to the, for example, near your work area, if you want to enter time and if I have configured the latitude, longitude and radius of your office area, then if I'm making any entries in my time, it will automatically take the value. But however, if I'm making the entries at my home and trying to be there in the office, it will not. Two friends for mobile time in the latitude, longitude and radius. That is the function of local location. A location who are eligible for that work is validating. Validation group means the whole group who are responsible for the error. Who would be responsible? We can create a global validation group where all the validation which is there for the whole employee section for this workflow eligibility would be. For example, there is a holiday when you're entering time and then time more than 24 hours would create the error. This is the last topic that we're gonna do is time entry validations. Validation is the time. Entry is like showing errors, custom errors, and we do have a different section for that. That is known as maintain time and evaluation. However, I wanted to do one more thing for you. You see all this area, quickie Adam, all those things. You mentioned all this, yes, in your screen, but however, all the employees will not be able to view it or all the employees will not be able to see this because the security rule is not been mentioned for those particular tasks. Who can submit time? Who can micro edit? You have to mention the security auto fill from prior week. I gave the employee manager also auto fill from schedule. Employee clear access. Also beauty add access. You need to mention the security over here. Then they can adjust calculated time, payroll partner and time tracking, admin run calculations. You need to mention over here all the areas, all the things that you see over here in the time and the temperature. Until analyst those security rules has not been given over here there. It's not be seen over there, alright? Please do like, share and subscribe to our channel.